to the No More Late Fees podcast. I'm Danielle.
And I'm Jackie, and we're just two best friends and ex-Blockbuster employees rewatching some of the best and worst movies from the late 90s and early 2000s. This week, we are talking about the 1995 crime thriller Hackers with the lovely ladies from the Let Us In podcast. Welcome, Crystle and Emma.
Thank you for having us. We're so excited.
We're very excited. Unfortunately, we're missing 1/3 of this beautiful pie. Shout out to Justine. Unfortunately, she wasn't feeling well, but she's here in spirit. I'm sure we'll be bringing her up quite a bit.
Yeah. But before we dive into the episode, let's get into some
housekeeping.
I was too fast. You were too slow.
I can't. I don't know what to tell you. We're never going to get it.
Is this from Tommy Boy?
It is.
Yes.
We're trying to figure out how to politely say listen to all of our stuff just to promote
all the things. Yeah.
So if you love the podcast and you want to support us, here are a few ways that you can.
Did you know writing a review and or rating us helps us get more listeners? If you want to be featured and help us grow, head to Apple, Spotify, Podchasers, Good Pods, or your favorite podcast platform and leave us a review like this gem. Okay, Jackie, I know I don't have my glasses on, but don't yell at me, okay?
I don't even know where you're looking.
I've got a source.
Okay, go ahead.
All right. Fun throwback nostalgia. Danielle and Jackie have such great chemistry, and they always take me on a trip down memory lane with their fun takes on my favorite movie classics. I must say my favorite episode to date was when they covered Glitter. If you're looking for a fun listen to this podcast is for you. And that was our wonderful guest, Dana. Thank you, Dana. You're the sweetest.
Love it.
Love when a guest goes and throws up a review. That's even better.
Yeah.
That guarantees you a second time back on the show.
We'll keep that in mind. Notice.
Especially when her favorite episode is the episode she was on.
Yes.
That's very good.
Shame. No shame.
No shame in that game. We love her.
Love that. Love it.
Like and subscribe to our show so you get notifications when we drop new episodes on your favorite podcasting platform.
And if you want to see funny ass GIFs of Jackie and I making the weirdest faces ever, you definitely should be a Patreon bestie. And also get exclusive content, stickers, lives, and access to our Burnt Aughts Spotify playlist. So make sure you head over to patreon.com/no more late fees and become one of our besties.
So let's hop into Hackers. So a teenage hacker finds himself framed for the theft of millions of dollars from a major corporation. Master hacker Dade Murphy, a.k.a. Zero Cool, a.k.a. Crash Override, has been banned from touching a keyboard for 7 years after crashing over
1507
Wall Street computers at the age of 11. Now keen to get back in front of a monitor, he finds himself in more trouble than ever. The movie stars Jonny Lee Miller, Angelina Jolie, Jesse Bradford, Matthew Lillard, Laurence Mason, Renoly, Santiago, Lorraine, Bracco, and Fisher Stevens. It was directed by Iain Softley. Screenplay was by Raphael Moreau, and you can watch it on Pluto, Tubi, Hulu, and Roku. But before we start, let's get into our ratings rewind, shall we?
So, you know the drill. Before we get into the movie, we'll reveal the rating our Y2K versions of ourselves would give. Then at the end, we'll see if our current selves agree with our initial rating. Our scale consists of would buy it again.
The best, would play on repeat.
5-day rental.
Would watch again.
2-day rental.
Okay, but nothing to write home about.
And same-day rental.
Like the Da Vinci virus, it's straight up trash. I was trying to remember what he was yelling to tell Serial that the disc was in the trash, but I couldn't remember.
I know. They did say garbage quite a bit in this episode, in this movie. All right, Crystle, we'll start with you. What would your Y2K rating be of this movie?
I loved this growing up. This was a movie that I watched and fully enjoyed. I actually got it previously owned at Blockbuster. So
Love it.
That's so perfect.
This would be a would buy it because I did. So absolutely.
Okay, Emma?
So my Y2K self, I don't remember when I first watched it. I was not 1995, but it was before 1999. But I did see it before I turned 13 somewhere, and I didn't buy movies, but I would have bought it. Would have bought it.
Okay. Would buy it. Love it. I think for me, it was like a 5-day rental. I did like it, but I did not buy it. It was, I was nerdy. I like chick flicks, and this was too highbrow for me at some point.
That's such a creative way to say it.
It was a lot. Well, I wasn't technologically advanced, so I was I don't know what.
Neither is this movie.
Yeah, Jackie's husband called out. He's like, they're saying the most generic terms right now, and I was like, I don't know what the hell they're talking about. What about you, Jackie?
It was a would buy. This was a family favorite. We all sat around and watched it. I think the casting is fantastic.
Yeah.
I loved everything. Like, that started my small obsession with Jonny Lee Miller. I was already there with Matthew Lillard, but
yeah,
it was fantastic.
Well, let's get into the box office, shall we?
Yes.
So this movie had a budget of $20 million. I want to say where. Okay.
Wow. So, 20 million in 1995?
Yeah.
Oh, shit, dude. Like, wow.
There's a lot of graphics. We go into a computer a lot.
True.
Yes.
So behind the scenes of how they did it, because it's not CGI, they built this model and did animations around it and spent days doing that.
They could have saved their time and money on that.
Yeah.
I mean, I think I could have done a better job with some Legos and some tape.
Yeah.
It didn't age well. That's all I'm going to say.
No.
It surprisingly only made $7.5 million. So it was a dud. It is a cult favorite, obviously, now, but it did not do well. It was released in 1995 in September, and it opening weekend, it finished in 4th place. The critics praised the film for its stylish visuals, but criticized it for its unconvincing look at hackers and their subculture, which we'll get into because the director really did spend a lot of time doing research and talking to hackers. So it's kind of sucky that it didn't kind of translate, but these are critics.
What did the critics know about hackers?
You're right.
This was 1995. This movie came out months after Windows 95 came out.
Let's see what Roger Ebert gave the film 3 out of 4 stars and wrote,
wow,
the movie is smart and entertaining. Then, as long as you don't take the computer stuff very seriously, I didn't. I took it approximately as seriously as the archaeology in Indiana Jones. On the show, Siskel and Ebert gave the film a thumbs up, while Gene Siskel gave the film a thumbs down, saying, I didn't find the characters that interesting, and I really didn't like the villain in this piece.
He's my favorite.
I thought Fisher Stevens was not very threatening. The writing is so arch. I don't know. And what does Siskel know? We all about Raj anyways.
How did we not find the characters interesting and engaging?
Yeah, that's crazy.
I mean,
entertaining.
It's like this movie is, you can enjoy it as a time capsule. I don't know if it's as enjoyable for someone that wasn't around in that time, and it's like cute because it's like it's very much of its time. I assume that there's a value in that there, but it's not so much that the computer stuff doesn't make sense. It's like there's a whole long period of time we spend away from Angelina Jolie and Jonny Lee Miller where we're getting to build up the villains a little late. And I was like, I'm getting a little bored. Like it's not Fisher Stevens, but the Secret Service. I'm like, is that really what you mean?
Yeah, I kept saying, I'm like, shouldn't it be like the FBI, CIA? This doesn't make any sense. I do want to say that Wendell Pierce is like one of the best actors ever. And he did as much as he could with what he was given. That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah.
Well, the funny thing is, around a bunch of cartoon characters, he did really well. Like, he fits in without being over the top. It's just that the plot just doesn't work well. But all the actors are enjoyable. That's the part of it's the style, it's the actors. That's what's really fun. I don't want to get ahead of myself, but we're starting off we start this movie and it's doing like 12 frames per shot. Good start. Storming a house. There's going to be a lot of storming into people's homes in this movie. Yes. We're not always sure exactly why, but by the Secret Service.
A lot of times I'm like, do they have warrants? Do they have probable cause to go into this kid's house? Like,
yeah.
There was never like an agent with them to have the subpoena or anything. They didn't look like real FBI agents. And again, Secret Service, this doesn't make any sense. No. It's not even Homeland Security, which
exactly.
I'm like,
to be protecting the president. Don't you know what you should be doing?
Who else did the Secret Service protect? Like other governors and not governors, but governors and ex-presidents. I don't know, but like not cracking down. And why was there a camera crew every time they made a bust?
I didn't think of that.
There was always a camera crew ready, like literally just busting. They're at the door as they're busting through. Yeah. Are you ready to speak on this? Like,
oh my god! I'm a minor as well. Teenagers. Oh my god! So the movie. So once we get to the courtroom and we have the shocking reveal, it's a child that's being charged. They got charged $45,000, which sounds like a weird amount. Like, I don't know how much they should have been. It just felt weird. I did the inflation and it's like 86,000 in today's money, which is a lot, but I don't know. It felt really weird. If the music was a little different and the tone was different, where he's saying you until you're 18, you can't be near a computer or touch tone telephone. It felt very sitcom-y to me. Like this is something like they wrote on Seinfeld or Home Improvement. If the music was a little different.
The trial, Jackie missed it, but Felicity Huffman is one of the lawyers, and I was just like, okay.
I did not catch that either. I did not catch that.
But he didn't look 11 years old. I think we were trying to do like the math and stuff like that. But he looked
8.
Yeah, he was barely fitting in the chair when they arrested Dade. Dade is the main character, which is Jonny Lee Miller. And then you see them bust into the house with his mom and dad being there, like, what the hell's going on? Then you see them in the trial, and after he gets his sentence, then it obviously jumps to him being 18, and Jonny Lee Miller looked like a full ass grown man. There's no way.
Now it is Dade's birthday. He has just moved to New York with his mom. His parents have divorced. It is his 18th birthday. And he is getting back on that horse. He is immediately at a computer, tapping away. He's like secretly like tapped into the house phone. He has sunglasses on to hack. That's
the Google glasses.
Yes.
They predicted that. How smart.
And he is just for funsies going to take over a TV station. Although it seems like the guy was just like preaching like hate and stuff.
Yeah.
He's like an Alex Jonesy kind of character. Yeah, I don't know if he was a real person because they had the Outer Limits also on instead. So I don't know if he was like a made up character or if he was supposed to be somebody real. I don't know.
It was giving Make America Great Again vibes. 100%. Yeah.
So he decides he's going to put it on outer limits instead, hacks into the station by calling and asking for the modem number. I'm an unassuming security guard. He gets in, he changes it to outer limits. He's very proud of himself. And then all of a sudden, he's in a little hacker war with acid burn.
I lost my mind because that text... You wouldn't hack into a mainstream computer. It is, and I looked it up. I did a dive a little bit. You wouldn't steal a car. You wouldn't steal a purse. Would you download a movie? It's stealing. Remember that?
Yeah, the piracy ad.
It's the same text. It is.
I also love
fans everywhere.
Everywhere. I love how there's like a million scenes of Jolt soda in this movie.
It's Red Bull before Red Bull was a thing.
Yes.
Like you drank Jolt soda to stay up all night hacking.
It was before Surge. Or Surge might have been out by then in 95.
They didn't have the product placement.
No.
So
they were slipping.
The deal.
Jolt got the deal.
So Dade decides he was going to use his original handle Zero Cool, but decides he needs to start new. He's an adult now. And so they have like these fighting machines. And I've never really thought about how TV programming happened. That like there's a machine and like it picks out the next VHS and puts
before
it in.
digital,
like,
yeah.
Yeah, exactly. When it was still analog. Never thought about that, but like it makes sense. So we see like these little machines fighting and stuff, and then Crash Override gets a connection terminated. And his response is, well, shit on me. His one-liners in this movie are so bizarre. They're fantastic.
There's so many crazy lines and so many random things. I lived in New York for so long, and I never in my life seen people use rollerblades as a mode of transportation as much as they did in this movie.
They spent 3 weeks learning how to do that, Danielle.
Yeah.
It's very 90s. It's so 90s. I remember rollerblades being like something people would try to learn how to do, and then they just be in the garage forever.
I'm not trying to be
same thing.
Oh, you did?
I was obsessed with rollerblading, and I begged my parents for a pair. I got a pair, went rollerblading, hit a rock, face planted, and then never wanted to do it again.
No,
ruined my whole experience.
It is. I didn't do rollerblades. I wasn't cool. I had the 4-wheelers, my white and pink roller skates.
So
yeah,
probably safer that way.
Yeah, I'm not very coordinated. If you know me, you know.
And he also says, because they're doing like little chatty quips to one another while they're fighting. And so Crash says, what is it now?
And in the visual,
Mess
it
with
is
the best, die like the rest.
Yes. In the font of the anti-piracy that used to be in DVDs, it's that font.
Yeah.
And when he goes to school the next day, but it's just to be noted that they filmed at Stuyvesant High School, which is a pretty famous high school in Manhattan. So
oh, really?
It's a popular one.
It looked huge.
Yeah.
I've never seen a school that big, to be honest. Like I didn't even know. If you told me it wasn't a school, like they built it into, I would believe you. So that's crazy.
So, like Danielle said, we see Dade on his first day of school. He's looking for the principal's office, and he's passing a ton of people in the hallway. But he asks the person on the phone
who's not looking at him,
principal's office. And that's where we meet Phantom Freak, who's kind of just like, leave me alone. And then he eventually finds his way to the principal's office, where he meets Kate, played by Angelina Jolie, and she is not ready to give him the time of day. Like, she's giving him shit straight off the bat.
Yeah, as she should. Like, she has a boyfriend. She's cool as fuck. She doesn't know who this person is. Like, he's literally said 2 words to her, and her whole job was to get him to class and mind her damn business. Mm-hmm. So that's what she was trying to do.
But she also mentioned that they had a very lovely pool on the roof, which he goes to check out.
So I learned last night that Jackie did not hear this room. This was like a joke they played at our high school as well.
Really? I've never heard of that.
There was no way to get up there, but like a freshman, they would tell, we only had 2 floors, and they would say, check out the pool on the 3rd floor. And I remember like going to a friend, I was like, oh my God, did you know there was a pool? And they're like, there's nowhere to go.
I wouldn't believe that. I'm really gullible. I'm really gullible. I would have believed it. I would have. I probably wouldn't have gotten caught in the rain that happened all of a sudden on the roof, but
and she has sent like at least 6 people up there. They're all just stuck on the roof because as soon as the door shuts, you can't get back in. And they're all just standing up there, and that's how he gets caught in the rain.
But why are they closer to the door? That irritated me. Like, why are you all over on the other side of the roof? Like,
the only way to get back down is if somebody else opens the door.
Right. So like y'all should have been ready to catch the damn door, but y'all are over there. What? It's not even like they were screaming for help.
The view.
Right. Whatever.
So after this, he's in computer class with Phantom Freak. And Freak notices that he's looking up Kate. He's getting the 411 on Kate. And
switching his class because he told Kate that he was going to be in her class. So
yes,
very stalker vibes. Let's just put it out there. He saw.
I can't blame him. I mean, it's Angelina Jolie. She seems like really cool. But so, as long as, it is a little stalkery, though. It is a little stalkery.
I'd probably do the same though.
Yeah, go to the same class.
Cool.
Oh, I didn't know you went to this class as well.
Oh, you
funny seeing you here.
Then we are introduced to Joey, played by Jesse Bradford. Jesse Bradford was only 16 at the time of filming. Everyone else was in their 20s. Jonny Lee Miller was 23. Angelina Jolie was 20. Renoly Santiago was 21. And Matthew Lillard was 24. So he was the baby of the group. And Joey just desperately wants to fit in, but doesn't really get a whole lot of social norms, it seems like.
But you know what, Jackie? He would have definitely been one of my targets as the president of Strike.
Yes. The amount of smoking in this movie is troubling.
It's a lot. He's a chain smoker at this point.
At one point, he has 2 lit cigarettes in one scene.
No.
And for you ladies, I just want to let you know that you're in the midst of, I was going to say royalty, but president of royalty. I was the president of Student Tobacco Reform Initiative Knowledge for Eternity.
Wow.
And then after I was voted president, it was then terminated completely. But
oh no,
those ads that you see, the like anti-smoking ads, it was all part of like the same organization. So when I was in high school, I was in Teens Against Tobacco Use, Tattoo, and then I elevated to Strike when I got to college. Like real boss nerd.
Oh, that's adorable though. That's so cute. His character felt like he was away from the other characters a lot. We see him get he's the first to get busted, right? And then there's this cutaway scene where he's on I think an AA meeting.
Yeah.
Or an NA meeting where he's smoking cigarettes and drinking caffeine. He felt separate from the group for some reason. Like they had to shoot his scenes
probably because he was
times.
It's probably because he's underage and he had to do school. So when we talked to Renoly, he talked about how like, Angelina and Jonny kind of paired off. Matthew, was kind of doing his own thing. He flew his girlfriend out. I think when they were doing scenes were they in England? I think. Yeah.
Yeah. They shot in London.
And because Jesse was 16, he had school. So he wasn't really like always there. So I think that might be why he was separated.
That makes so much sense.
And he was also considered for the Phantom Freak role at first. They were going to have him for it, but then when he saw the role that he eventually played, he's like, no, I think I'm a better fit for this. So
It wasn't Phantom Freak. It was Dade Murphy.
was it Dave?
Yeah.
He's way too young for that. I mean, actually, it might have worked because
better.
Jonny Lee Miller looks so old.
He does.
Oh yeah,
It's that. It's like
totally
that.
different.
It's that meme, like, "Hey there, my fellow kids," you know.
Steve Buscemi.
Yes, I love me the Steve Buscemi very much so.
So Freak invites Dade to this Cyberdelia Friday situation. It seems like it's like a cyber cafe where all of the cool hacker kids hang out.
It's like a full-on club. It's a full-on like dance club. Like that was not available to me at any capacity. You were like, if there was like a garage, you know, it's like everyone's dancing. It's almost kind of like, and then later on in the movie, we see some like people that look like they have like these elaborate costumes. They look like club kids, like Michael Alec, and like, I'm like, what? This doesn't exist anywhere. Like maybe a Dave and Buster's or something.
Well, in New York, very much so. Very real. It does? 100%. Like at that time, like I don't know as much of like the cyber cafes part of it, but definitely all of my friends that grew up in New York were clubbing at like 13, 14 years old. Like, yeah, they were out in the streets. So I'm sure they probably cracked down a lot more now, but back then, yeah, it was a free for all.
Wow. I'm a small town girl. That was my bad. I didn't see a club like that till I was an adult. Well, 18, but you know.
I think where we grew up, there was a teen club. I never got to go, but the cool kids in my biology class would talk about them going. And I was just like, I'm not cool enough to go to this. My mom would never let me.
So we're introduced to a serial killer for the first time. He's hawking tape mixes of people who have choked on their own vomit on the streets of New York.
Oh, Matthew Lillard. What a peach. And his hair in this movie is just something.
Amazing. I love it.
So now we are at the cyber cafe. Kate is really good at a certain video game. So she is standing there playing. She's beating her own high score. And then he says, not bad for a girl.
He's very misogynistic in this movie.
Oh, that
gross.
Sent me. It's
so
gross.
And then like you wear a dress if I win. It's like, okay. Yeah. I don't like it.
And it's cringe, 100%.
Yep. So he ends up beating her score, and someone tells him, like, oh, great job. You beat her. You've made an enemy for life. Like, doesn't play.
Like, he has no game at all. Like none. Absolutely none. And I think that it's supposed to be that way.
I mean, I'm wondering if, like, some of these guys who are hackers probably don't have the best social skills that this is why they like the internet. It's a way to have another language, another way of speaking and engaging with other people. So it makes sense.
It does.
And another great line in this scene is Phantom Freak turns to Joey and says, "Boy Meets World, let's go."
That was a whole memory that was unlocked too. Oh my God.
I do love that those two characters are like kind of paired together in some way. They were cute.
They were. It was like Freak took Joey under his wing and was, as much as he gave him a hard time and stuff, he really was caring towards him.
Yeah.
Then we see that Kate has a boyfriend, Kurt. And then my next note is more hacking.
And it hasn't even really begun either.
But I remember what it is. He's hacking into the school fire alarm system, and he's programming a test of the sprinklers to get back at Kate for locking him out in the rain.
Well, I mean, like, the thing was, she didn't tell him about it. Another kid saw that he was new, and he's like, Kate, tell him about the swimming pool. And Kate's like, oh yeah, there's a swimming pool. She didn't really seem like it was something that she wanted to do, but it's like, you want to get revenge, but you're also like smitten with her. Yeah. So I don't know, like you guys said, he does not have game at all.
This is him flirting. He has an umbrella and the sprinkler system goes off.
If there were any black girls in that school, his ass would have been done. Okay? Get my fucking hair wet, see what happens.
And then this is where we see Freak in his kitty cat shirt, realness. It is a sight to behold. It's my favorite look.
Definitely one of mine too. Phantom Freak and Serial Killer were my favorites of the hackers, and also their looks too.
Yeah.
I could have sworn I had a rash guard because Angelina Jolie keeps wearing them a lot, but I couldn't find it.
And hockey jerseys.
Yeah.
Although I think the hockey jersey was because she got wet, and I'm assuming like Curtis gave her his hockey jersey to wear in the next scene, which is English class. They're all writing famous quotes on the board. She writes a quote from her mother, who is an author,
which establishes that she's extremely rich.
Right. Yes. Dade writes a well-received quote by the teacher, and then serial killer is there. And the teacher realizes that he's not even enrolled in that class.
You don't even go here.
But yeah, it was that joke. It was that joke. This isn't wood shop, and then everyone goes wild, like that's the funniest thing they've ever heard.
Yeah.
Oh, they're going okay. Everyone's
that was definitely
an Ozzy Osbourne quote. It was corny.
Corny.
Well, and I feel bad for Serial because very obviously he keeps asking the other characters, can I stay at your house? And it seems like his parents are living their like hippie best lives and are never home, it seems, or maybe they don't even have a home. And he literally carries around his toothbrush with him and is seen like brushing his teeth in the bathroom and stuff. So like his home life isn't great, and he is a pretty quirky dude, but I mean, he comes in clutch when he needs to.
Yeah.
He can come stay with me.
Right? Yes.
Like,
could you imagine if I brought someone that looked like Serial Killer home and was like, Mom, he's just gonna stay?
You know what?
It's a serial killer.
Yeah.
Honestly,
don't worry, it's with a C, Mom. It's with a C.
Honestly, I mean, I'm sure your mom would be like, what the fuck? But she would still be so loving and accommodating and kind. So
she would. And like in a later scene, Dade brings him to his apartment, and the mom pops in and is like, help yourself to anything in the kitchen. Cereal already has. He makes himself at home. So now Joey is telling the group that he was able to hack into a bank, and he didn't think he did anything, but then he saw a story about an ATM randomly spitting out $700. And they're like, dude, like, you're hacking across state lines. That's when like the feds get involved. Like, don't do that again.
From your house. That's what the big problem was.
Your home phone.
Yes.
Your home landline.
Yeah.
And what does Joey do? He goes and hacks again from his home line.
He's not the smart.
And it's a big oil company, so I don't know what he was, because they keep on talking, what is it, a Gibson computer?
Yeah.
Like just to see if he could do it. Yeah.
And then they talk about the most common passwords: love, secret, sex, and God. But then they start.
That's not. It is like your parent. It is like either your children's names with a birthday or your pets' names. That's the most. No one's password. I'm sure in the history of time, there's been a 12-year-old boy where his password is sex. You know?
I think they meant it from like a system admin standpoint, maybe not maybe like the everyday person, but I could be wrong. But they did talk about like the system admins wanting to use God, and that tracks.
It does. I know I used the God hack in American McGee's Alice because I couldn't defeat the Jabberwocky, so I just cheated. Like, I was so mad. I just cheated.
And so they do go, Joey, like, yeah, like you need to prove yourself. And yeah, you could hack the, like hacking a Gibson, like that's the level. And then Dade has like this throwaway line that's like, oh, well, you want to go in the front, like you would go in a back door, like a security clearance or something like that. Like he just has this throwaway line, but that's how Joey is able to get in to hack the Gibson. And so Joey goes in, does his little hacking, and he just finds a garbage file. It's literally labeled garbage. And he's like, I just have to download something to prove that I got in. So he starts downloading this file, and his mom comes in and is like, Joey, it's time for bed, and like turns off his computer. And so only half of the file is downloaded. So I'm sure you can get data off of it, but typically when a file transfer is interrupted, it corrupts the file.
Yeah, especially on a floppy disk. Like those were very finicky.
But they did. I think that's why they had a problem, because that's why I think they asked Dade to make the copy, because, and they were just trying to figure out all the stuff. Like, I think maybe they had to do something to make it not corrupt. I don't know. Like,
well, they were saying the whole problem becomes they figure out what he downloaded, which is essentially a worm, and it was like taking like a partial cents that were kind of floating and putting them into this bank account. And when it hit 25 million, the plague and his lady Margot were just gonna peace out of the country. So they were embezzling from the company on like partial cents.
It was the Office Space.
Yes, that's what I was gonna say.
So,
I'm sorry, worm. Okay.
Yes,
the worm.
Worm. So they're like, we figured out what this is doing, but we don't know what the bank account is that it's being put into, and we don't know the passwords and the admin profiles that are allowing, like, that set up this worm. And that's what they needed, was like the second half of that file, which is why they had to rehack into it and get that information. But I still think the file would have just been corrupted and
you're probably right. But Joey, he is smart enough to take the file and hide it in his secret hiding space, which I find it hard to believe that, I want to say FBI, Secret Service didn't go into the vents to check if he was hiding something.
Well, not only was it in the vent, it was in his little cigarette carton.
I have to imagine that his mom must smoke as well, because there's no freaking way that you don't smell cigarette smoke in the room. Like, he's like spraying Lysol as if that would help the permeating smell of cigarettes in the house.
That smell, it's just very noticeable. It's so noticeable. No way. She must smoke.
It permeates everything.
Yeah.
So while Joey is in the Gibson hacking, the security monitor, played by Penn Jillette, which I was like, is that Penn?
I did the same thing.
He's very specific. He's a very specific look, very specific voice.
Like, why are you here?
He called Fisher Stevens' character Eugene, but he goes by the Plague as his hacker name.
This is my favorite scene of the whole movie. One of the two is when he Plague enters. So we see him, and it's like there's these walls of code behind him in like this neon color, and there's another neon color in his board, so it's big in contrast. And on a skateboard, I don't know how old Fisher Stevens is in this, like 40 something. On a skateboard, he comes down, and then he kicks it up and then just tosses it on the ground. What?
He's wearing a fur coat.
Yes.
He is.
I loved it. It's so perfect.
Very extra and so very full of himself in this movie. 100%.
Yeah. His facial hair is very, I'm Bob Evil, I'm the bad guy. Like, it's like this weird facial hair.
But I do have to agree with the critics. He doesn't feel scary.
No,
like
no.
I'm not terrified like a Gary Oldman you know.
Oh
like,
yeah, no way. Like your Fifth Element, Gary Oldman, no way. Yeah, no. But I love how goofy he is. I enjoy it. He isn't scary though.
He's hilarious though.
Oh my god. My second favorite part is when he's getting the floppy disk and he's on the skateboard on the side.
That is literally the best scene in the whole damn movie to me.
Just holding on to the side of a car
because
matches the floppy disk and then like grabs the side of a car again and like goes off into like the foggy night.
Because that he had to have the driver drive him. Yeah. And then say, okay, stop here. Get out of the car to get on the skateboard.
Too fast. Go slower. So, like, you know, Dade is just like on what seems like an abandoned street somehow in New York City, holding onto this bright floppy disk, and then all of a sudden we see both the limousine and this picture like a 40-something-year-old man like holding the handle on a skateboard and just snatches it away. I can't. It's so great. It's so great.
And he's like in a trench coat that's like billowing out behind him.
Yeah, he's not dressed like a hacker. He's just like an adult man too. Yeah. He looks like a full-grown businessman. It's so great.
And then what I love in that scene is that like Dade looks just as perplexed as we feel as the audience. But then it clicks to him and then like he runs after. Like, why did it take you so long to go run after
I think
him?
He was so shocked. Like, what the fuck has happened?
I would have loved to hear that, like, Jonny Lee Miller didn't know how Fisher Stevens was going to emerge in this scene. And so, like, his reaction is just genuine confusion
I think that there's a very good chance that is 100% true. I don't know for sure, but it seems that way.
Well, Renoly did say that they didn't really rehearse much, so it could possibly be.
It shows.
Fisher Stevens also has a line in this scene where he's going and seeing like, oh, they found the garbage file where I've hidden the worm type thing. And he goes, "Never fear, I is here." And we're like,
what?
And
when Jonny says to him, what does he say? He says, like, go fuck yourself or go pee, like go take a piss on whatever. And he's just like, thank you.
Yeah.
What? Like he's like, go fuck yourself. Thank you.
Thank you.
So unhinged.
I don't understand what that means even. like, and he's very like ready to give that like, ooh, burn.
Yeah.
And again, Jonny just looks confused. Dave looks, he's like, what?
So
we see while Joey is talking to mom and she's shutting the computer off, they're actually tracing his location. And so they do get his location somehow. Oh, and then he goes to see who goes to
they go and meet Nikon. I think it's Dade and serial killer Kate.
And Serial. Yeah.
No, it's not Kate. It's Serial, Dade, and Freak that go and meet. So that Dade gets introduced to Nikon and they watch the hacker show and we meet, what are their names?
Razor and Blade.
I love it. I love them. They were amazing. I was like, I would watch this show. They were iconic.
Why aren't these the two main characters?
I know.
I love that. There's only one joke that really stood out a lot to me that was like, I thought, what happened to the hacker code of accepting everybody, where they're playing tricks on Laurence, who's the head of the Secret Service. Mm-hmm. And they're making it so he gets a lot of calls from horny men, and they say, "Oh, transvestites, are welcome." And so that's a jaded joke that was not cool. But everything else is pretty. Like I was surprised, for 1995.
It did pretty well. Besides that, and the fact that Dade was very misogynistic, I think they did a great job. The casting was multicultural, very representative of New York and just that community in general. I think besides the corny lines, it ages very, Very well.
Yeah.
Yeah, so now Joey is in the shower, living his best, headphones with like Ziploc baggies
plastic.
falling off of them.
Sour caps.
Singing Iggy Pop's Wild One.
Yeah.
Loved it.
He was bringing on waterproof headphones before we even knew we needed it.
Yeah.
Like, why not just put a boombox on the sink and listen to it? Why do you need the headphones?
He was trying to be innovative, Jackie. He's just innovative.
So there is a raid. The Secret Service gets involved somehow. Plague gives them a call, and Joey is arrested. Mark Anthony is also a Secret Service agent.
What? I didn't notice that.
I saw him and I was like, is that Mark Anthony? And I was like,
I did not notice.
Mark Anthony.
Renoly was
So random.
talking about like how they got to hang out and they became really good friends on that set. Yeah, like it's crazy. Honestly, when I was introduced to Mark Anthony, I just thought he was the singer. Like I had no idea that he was in movies and musicals and all this other stuff prior to this.
Yeah.
I didn't either. I didn't even know he was in this movie. I didn't notice him.
He's not as recognizable. Like I had to really do a double take and be like,
Yeah.
is that
I knew right off the bat that face. You can't miss it. I'm just gonna say it.
Yeah.
He was even more angular than he is now.
Yeah.
If you can believe
Definitely.
that. Like his cheeks could cut glass.
Oh yeah.
That's weird because usually when you're older, you get more gaunt. So,
Yeah.
oh, wow. Okay. Mark
And
Anthony.
so they do arrest Joey, and then there's a cut to the oil company, and Lorraine Bracco plays Margot, who is like a high up executive, it seems.
She does
And-
like PR or marketing or something.
And there's this huge meeting about how they were hacked and what Plague has done, because the worm is his virus, but now it's been exposed. And so he plants another virus called the Da Vinci virus and is blaming it on the hackers to take the fall. And what the Da Vinci virus is going to do is it's going to overfill
And capsize a bunch of oil ships.
Exactly. And they're like, well, can't we just manually turn it off? He's like, no, they're just controlled by computers and we have no clue where this virus is living in the Gibson type thing. So
But why? Is he just trying to distract people that the fact that a lot of money is going to be gone soon? Is that why? Or is he just a bad guy? It just didn't...
They say it, because of the worm, someone's going to have to take a fall for it. Like eventually they're going to take the money and run, but they need someone to take the fall. So like they're going to blame it on the hackers.
And at the same time, he doesn't know how much information Joey has downloaded.
Mm-hmm.
And it could potentially implicate him. So this is his way, by blaming hackers, is his way of being able to essentially raid all of their houses and try and get the disc back as well.
Yeah, because as a corporation, they didn't have that ability to raid Joey's house. That's why they reached out to the Secret Service. If you're keeping up, take a shot every time we say Secret Service. You'll be lit by the end of this episode.
Oh my God. So many busts. And the Secret Service takes everybody, including the bad guys at the end, to the same jail. Where there's just a bunch of random people with their arms like reaching for anybody who comes in. It's just, why would they all be going to the same jail? And the Secret Service is taking it.
And why are they all why are all the prisoners touching everybody? Like we didn't understand that either.
Yeah.
They're reaching out, and one is like, I don't know, like a woman in her 70s that like, what's going on?
She jaywalks. She's just in there, and they're like, oh, this is what we do. We reach out to the newbies.
It's like there's jaywalkers, hackers, muggers, like this. It's a modge podge of people in there.
So they take Joey's beloved computer, Lucy, apart, looking for, like, they physically take it apart, though, looking for the information. They can't find the disc. He's very sad. He also, like, there's an agent just playing with a Power Glove, a Nintendo Power Glove in the background. Like, I'm like, a power glove, like, what are we doing with the power glove and the hacking? Like,
Well,
that's more of a
maybe
video
Joey,
game
like,
thing?
maybe Joey reconfigured it to use it for.
It didn't even work on the Nintendo.
You right about that, girl. You
What?
right about that. That and that damn pad. I was like stomping on it, and it shit never worked.
This scene reminded me so much of Zoolander when they're like, the files are in the computer, and they're like.
So now Joey is released, and his mom's just grounded him for a very long time.
But like, she grounds him, but he doesn't go to school? Question?
Yeah, I know, right?
Yeah.
Like he's just stuck in his room. But then she just like he looks miserable later on, and his mom's very. She reminded me very much. What's that actress's name? Who's the secretary in Ghostbusters?
Annie
Potts.
Annie
Yeah.
Potts. She's
Yeah.
Annie Potts ish, but it's not Annie Potts. And she's got very colorfully dressed. She's like, "You are sad, aren't you? You can go." Like,
It was a very arbitrary grounding.
I just feel like they could have been smarter. Like, after he's let out, of course, he runs over to meet Phantom, and he brings the disc out. Like, obviously, they're tearing your room apart because you have something. Why not meet in a secure location? Then they find out the here we go, Secret Service is watching them, and they're both like not right about it. But I don't really blame Phantom Freak about it because he has no idea what he's about
what's
to
happening.
show. Right.
Yeah.
So he gets the disc and he has to run with it. They both separate, but Phantom Freak has it and he hides it at school.
Yes.
behind the condom machine.
Yeah.
And he calls Kate and he's like, it's in the location where I put that thing that time. Like, obviously she knows where it is, but I'm like, oh, we talking in riddles now.
What could he have hidden me? Like pot or?
Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah. So Plague visits
Dade.
And it's under the pretense of the Secret Service, like, hey, you hang out with Joey. What do you know, essentially? But then Plague is like, it's okay, I got this. And the Secret Service leaves him alone with Dade. And he's like, I know who you are. I know you're zero cool. I need you to help me find the disc. I'll pay you. And Dade's like, fuck off. And so then Plague has a baseball bat and like smashes his boombox to show him as he's leaving the room.
The Secret Service has no boundaries, clearly.
Well, he waited for the Secret Service to leave. Plague did that when their backs were turned because they're not clued. They think they're, the Secret Service, they're the good guys. They just don't realize that Plague's a bad guy.
Right.
So the Secret Service are the good guy.
I just want to know where the president is.
I know, right? Is he okay? Are you keeping track?
In his secret bunker this whole time.
He's been in the computer the whole time.
So then Dade goes to bed and he dreams about Kate, and then we see Angelina Jolie boobies.
So I'm sorry to interrupt you. So this is going to make me sound like such a creep. So one of the movies we covered, it's not a good movie. I don't know if you guys have or haven't seen it, is Taking Lives. And when I was doing a little research for Taking Lives, she's like, well, I've never done that. I've never showed. We're like, so why not? And which I have no problem with her doing that.
In so many movies. What's she talking about?
And it was apparently, I don't know. And I was so surprised to see that quick nipple. I'm like, oh my goodness.
Yeah. Well, and she showed her boobs in Gia.
Gia,
well,
a lot.
Yeah, she did. So I don't know.
I feel like there's another movie that she showed her boobs in too.
I mean,
it's a lot. It's Alexander, maybe. Was it that movie she was naked in?
Oh, I haven't seen that one. But I was very surprised to see, not because of that comment, but I was very surprised to see nipple. It was very quick, but very there.
You're like, hold on, is that it?
And she
Rewind.
She did complain that the movie typecast her to play the tough women with guns, the kind who wear no bra and a little tank top.
She wore a jacket a lot, although that is correct. That is the character she's playing, that very much so. But she was wearing a jacket a lot, but that doesn't make it any better.
No.
Very cool moto jackets. But the wardrobe is irrelevant. But she is definitely playing the badass for the male gaze type of character.
Exactly. And now we are at Kate. She's throwing a party. There are blue drinks that look like Windex everywhere. And
we also learned that Nikon has photographic memory, and he memorizes one of the girls' address, like all her information, but doesn't really know her. That was kind of creepy.
And she's like, oh, how do you know? Not like, oh my God.
Right.
I would be like, how do you know my address? Yeah, I don't know you.
Be more concerned.
So they end up in Kate's room and they're looking at her computer and like oohing and awing over it because she's rich and so she can afford the latest and greatest in ROM and RAM. And her and the boyfriend come in and just full on start like making out on the bed, and they're literally like the guys are having a conversation at a normal volume.
Yeah.
And Kate, it takes them a long time to notice that they have an audience as they're making out.
It's only because Dade kind of yells something.
Yeah.
Bird.
Yeah.
There's no way they couldn't notice them there. I was like, how do they not see them? Oh.
And so, and Mark Anthony is there as the Secret Service agent, and he's undercover trying to blend in with teenagers.
How great of a but that's a great line. And Mark Anthony is there as a Secret Service agent trying to blend with teenagers.
Yes.
I love
Hackers.
like he puts his glasses on and you literally just see him in the screen like just like kind of floating away. It's like, this is a lot. But I love how like two of their friends are in jail. And
The same one.
No, Jolie's out.
Joey's out on house arrest or whatever his mom put him on.
And Freak, he got arrested. They escaped, but he eventually got arrested. It must be after the scene, though.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So in this scene, Dade realizes that Kate is acid burn, and he's like, you took over the TV station when I was trying to, and blah, blah, blah. Meanwhile,
Your acid burn? We knew that was coming. We all knew that moment. We're like, when's it going to happen?
Oh, and then Serial's like, crash and burn.
Like, it's so cute.
It's their power couple name. And so, meanwhile, Plague is hacking into the FBI.
They do exist.
Right? And he starts altering Dade's mom's FBI profile and giving her a bunch of like DUIs and warrants out for her arrest and like these
Stacking up the felonies, like.
Yes. Meanwhile, Dade and Acid. It says Acid is on the roof.
It starts getting a little muddled around here.
Yeah.
I mean, it already was. I think that's the biggest flaw the movie has, is that for all of this chaotic, fast pace, we got to get this done. We never feel it. We never feel like that tension, like, oh my God, they got to get into the computer so that the oil doesn't spill. We never really get on that same level. It does, it looks cool because it doesn't look cool. They look cool, but the other stuff, it's cute because it's just not working. Yeah. It's like that popular GIF with like the math and like there'll be a celebrity and they're trying to think hard about it and the camera's doing a 360. But we never feel that level of like, oh my God, they gotta get Plague. We never feel like Plague never feels like a threat. He's just kind of like a goofy guy. It's just. Yeah.
Well, and at this point, they're not even really concerned with Plague. They want to mess with the Secret Service agents. And so Acid and Crash decide they're going to show who's the best hacker by messing with the Secret Service agents. And so their deal is if Kate wins, Dade becomes her slave. And if Dade wins, she has to go on a first date with him and smile.
I think
that's not. Did I see a different version? I watched this on Tubi, and what they said on the Tubi version was maybe it was a different version of this, because what they said is he's like, okay, if I win on our first date, you have to wear a dress, and she's like, oh, it's a different bet. It was a different misogynistic bet. Okay,
yes, later on, he's upping the stakes.
Yes.
Okay. I did like her erotic dream where he is wearing a onesie. Like, that was kind of interesting. I liked that.
Because Jackie made a good point when we were watching it. She was like, because that's a woman's body at the bottom.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
It was interesting. Yeah.
I'm mad at it.
I think if they had it where they were hacking the plague instead of the head of the Secret Service guy, that would have made it make more sense when he kept leveling up to say, like, I'm threatening your mom and all this other stuff. It just felt really weird that he kind of just attached to wanting to bother Dade when Dade really didn't have anything to do with the whole situation. He like brought Dade into it. Like, he wanted Dade to be his adversary in a weird way, or like partner with him.
Yeah, I think he saw himself in Dade. Dade was a young
hacker. Wendell Pierce, who, like, I don't know why the Secret Service is like so involved with this, like the computer guy from this company. I mean, I get it's a danger, but it doesn't click. But he's really good at being very to these very cartoonish characters. He really sold it for me. He really did. He would have been a more imposing villain if they had written him as so. But he's not the villain. He just thinks he doesn't realize how bad that the only villainous thing. His biggest flaw is not noticing Plague's facial hair. Obviously, the bad guy in the movie.
Yes,
obviously the bad guy in the movie.
It's very what's his face, the guy that plays Seneca Crane in Mockingbird or in Hunger Games.
Oh, I haven't seen
Wes Bentley. It's very that where it's like lots of curls and stuff. It's very weird.
How many times have you seen the Secret Service be on TV giving an update?
Never. I've always seen them behind a political figure.
Exactly. I'm so bothered.
To blend in.
Yes.
Like, you're not supposed to notice.
Have press conferences. Like, come on.
So now Dade receives a laptop that is mailed to him from Plague, and it has this very menacing video message about how, like, unless Dade agrees to help him, he's going to ruin his mom's life, blah, blah, blah. You need to get the disc. This is when Joey is ungrounded, and he immediately gets the disc, goes to the park, and tells Freak, and the Secret Service is there. So Freak hides the disc for Kate to find. Poor Freak, he's sleeping, and the Secret Service crashes into his room, and he's like standing on his bed. Yeah, and then his mom comes in and starts hitting him, and he's like, arrest me already. Like, what are you waiting for? And so now he's in jail, and he gets his one phone call, but for some reason the cop like dials the number for him, like decides what the one phone call is going to be, it seems. So then Freak, because he's no stranger to a dial tone phone, quickly hangs up and gets the operator and calls Kate. And that's when he tells her where the disc is hidden in code. And
that's when afterwards Kate goes over to Dade's house to ask him to help them so that they can help out, Joey and Phantom Freak. And Dade is like, I can't, doesn't explain why. He says he has a record and that's all he gives. And finally Kate is like, oh.
I think it's because his mom has been harping on him to like be straight and narrow so he can get into college and stuff. And she's given him applications. So he's trying to be good and not fall victim to the hacking. but
victim to the hacking.
Yeah,
They
he's trying to be good because he knows his mom made like a lot of sacrifices for him and stuff like that, but he doesn't tell her exactly why. He just says he has a record and he can't. So she finally says, okay, well, can you just at least help us make a copy? So her and Serial leave, and he then calls the Plague and says, look, I have the disc. And he gives, that's the whole scene we were talking about. He gives the disc to Plague. And then he goes and over to Kate's, and pretty much everyone is over there trying to crack whatever was on this file. And he admits to the team that he gave the file over to Plague. And they're like,
Plague was threatening his mom, like essentially his mom was going to rot in jail if he didn't hand over something. So that's why he ended up giving Plague the disc.
And he tells them finally that he was Zero Chill, and that's why he's a record.
Cool.
It's not even that cool. Zero Chill is a much cooler name.
I feel like
cool. And they lose their minds. They're like,
yes.
You're Zero Cool. They mentioned the number. They're like, what is it?
1,507.
Seven. Oh my God. Yeah. And then all is forgiven.
Yeah.
Because he's Zero Cool.
I love how Nikon's like, I thought you were black, man.
And so they decide they need to find out what the rest of the worm is to get the information to prove that it's not their friends, it's someone else. And so Dade's like, I can do it, but it's going to take me like 10 minutes. And everyone's like, if I help, we can do it in 6. If I help, we can do it in 5.
If I help, I can save the earth.
This is very stage 1 of Hack the Earth, because it feels like they come to this conclusion another time, when the final time, when it's like, I don't know how I know this because I didn't watch a lot of Buffy, but when like everyone was a Slayer, everyone's a hacker.
Yeah, it's the 7th season series finale, and Buffy shares her Slayer gifts because she's like, these damn men decided that there should only be one, and there could be many of us. Salute you, Buffy.
Yes, fellow Buffy fan.
I was watching that episode saying maybe I too will get my Slayer powers inactivated.
Oh. I, on the other hand, compared it to when the Resistance called all the other ships in The Rise of Skywalker at the end to help Rey. And they all show up to fight all of Palpatine's army. It's like, so we were nerdy, just in very different
tomato.
Yeah. Same level.
So at this point is when they're like, we need help. They go to the club and they go try to talk to Blade, and is that it? What's their names?
Laser and Blade.
Laser and Blade, and try to convince them to help. And they do. They, give them a hard time first, but they say they'll help. And then they realize that they could get other hackers to help to just flood the Gibson so that it will malfunction, because there'll be too much stuff going on at the same time. Yep. While Zero Cool, should be Zero Chill, figures
it should be Zero Chill. It should be. So Laser and Blade, like, they're very, if you haven't seen the movie, perchance, I think it's safe to say gay coded. Very yes. But not in a way that seems derogatory. But do they have a show on like a UHF station? Is that where there's, because they have a TV show?
Yeah,
but I don't know.
I don't know if they hack it. I don't know if they hack it. I mean, obviously, before we had YouTube, we had a lot of cable access channels, so it might be that as well.
Yeah, it seems
that's cooler than UHF.
Underground. So, and then right before they go and see Razor and Blade for help, they're doing recon. So we get, like, they steal a schematics manual from like the power guy or something. I don't even know what he was doing in the sewer. We see Serial bug the phone for the receptionist, and the scene. Okay, first, the scene is so ridiculous. It's just chef's kiss. So it's this lady sitting at a desk, and then Like she has to scoot out because cereal is full on under her desk.
I thought he was going down on her. We had to rewind.
It looks like that.
It kind of looks like it.
Yeah.
And then he's like, okay. And then they show like the little flashy light phone bug underneath her desk. And he's like, thanks. And he walks away. So he gets out from under her desk, walks around the desk, and he has his pants are halfway down his ass as he walks away. And it is the most ridiculous thing. But
do you think that was an accident? Like,
I have no clue.
It seemed like an accident. Like, and we see him running away. We see his butt for quite a while, and it seems like his pants just fell down, and they went with it. They're like, it fits. And it did.
But this movie's so bizarre that it could go either way.
Yes.
It could have been on purpose or not.
It's really, that's a lot of this movie. It is hard to tell.
Yes,
like Plague himself, like I think he is supposed to be funny and goofy, but I don't know if he's also supposed to be a little bit scared. I have no idea.
Yeah.
I have no idea how intentional any of it is.
Yeah.
We also see Nikon is delivering flowers in finger quotes, and he's memorizing the passwords of different employees in some sort of.
Oh, I had no idea what he was doing. I didn't know.
Have a close up of the keys and the keystrokes.
There's a lot going on at this point, though. Like it's a lot, but and yet not much. It's
At the
one of
same
those.
time.
And then this is when we get to Razor and Blade, and this is also the scene that we talked about earlier, where there are very obviously club kids. Someone is wearing a chandelier as a hat.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then that is when we had to explain to Ken what club kids were, and we're like,
No.
Party Monster.
And we had to differentiate between club kids and the ballroom scene. So we had to explain that as well later. So it was a good educational time last night.
And like Benny Ninja, like James St. James, he's like, meh. He's like, okay, we'll show you.
It's a whole world.
later.
It's a whole world. It's a whole thing.
So now we've got our passwords, we've got our bugged, we've got our army of hackers that are going to hack the world. Now we need to get to Grand Central Station. The other issue that they were going to run into is like, how do we prevent the Secret Service from getting to us before we can finish?
I'm proud of you because I wanted to say cops.
And so they turn all the streetlights green. Major traffic, multiple accidents, much confusion. And so they go to the payphones at Grand Central. We see them at the payphones and they're like, boot up. And so everyone pulls out their little laptop.
It literally was morphin time.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's hacking time.
Power Rangers.
Literally everybody had their like moniker show up on their little laptops, and it's like it's
Everyone has their own little individual scene where they're in the payphone and the camera's doing a 360 as they're like doing it. Yep.
It's like a
I was like,
montage.
that was
It is.
giving me vertigo, dizziness, but literally it was like serial killer, Pink Ranger power.
Burn.
Pterodactyl.
And so they go in, they plant a bunch of viruses. Serial killers is the Cookie Monster virus.
These viruses are so fun.
Rabbit. Yeah, like
They
so
show
fun.
us on the screen of like the Cookie Monster is like this whole like pretty advanced for 1995. I will say that. And then there's like little rabbits going across this big computer screen that the Secret Service leader and Plague are both watching. And Plague's describing everything to everybody because there's this whole control room and they don't seem to know what's going on. It's quite fun.
But Plague is like they throw up a virus and he immediately like hits one button and like defeats it. Like it's just weird.
And it's not even like his keyboard, I guess, of the future was just pure. It was just flat, and I just felt like he was like just hitting
Whack-a-moling the
Yeah.
keyboard. So then the Da Vinci virus starts initiating, and so then we see a very like rudimentary like rendering of the ship starting to tip, and then the crash proclaims he's finding the viruses too fast. And then the Secret Service figures out they're at Grand Central. So they head down there, and then the hackers around the world unite. And
again, it's like even
Power
more.
Rangers. Yeah,
It's like a special Power Rangers episode where all the Power Rangers from different times come together to fight the big evil. 100%.
You know, they did Rita so dirty when she married Zed. I was so mad.
Let me tell you,
I love Rita Repulsa.
We did a whole rant on our Power Rangers episode about
I have to go watch that.
how
Oh my God.
feminism was completely ruined the moment they had that silver diaper wearing guy take over for what Rita has been setting the groundwork with those Rangers. Tragic. They did it so dirty.
Love her. I love her so much.
bad.
Anyway,
She's
the
bad.
hackers of the world.
Yes. Dade finally finds the worm. He starts downloading the information. And then the Secret Service gets to Grand Central Station, and oh, surprise, they had spoofed their location, and all the payphones are empty with like these little gadgets on them.
Sick burn.
Boiled again.
But we don't feel it ever. It's just like, because it's just a bunch of stuff happening. We're like, yeah, cool, yeah. That, of course.
Yeah. And then Plague is just screaming at his computer screen, and he's screaming about brain and cancer, and Lorraine Bracco in that really thick accent is like, brain cancer, what are you talking about? Like,
What are you talking about?
I was just ready for him to say, I sunk your battleship.
So then finally Dade gets the virus. He downloaded it to the disk. They take down the Gibson. The hackers hack the world and take down the Gibson. Everyone hugs, and then the Secret Service shows up, arrests them all. But Serial was too hyped, so they made him leave earlier. It was too much. And so he's standing outside, and as Dade is being put into the cop car, he like chucks the floppy disk in the trash on his way out. And so he's yelling like, this whole thing is trash in the trash. And then Serial's like, yeah, I understand what you're saying. And runs and gets the disc out of the trash. And then Plague and Margot are celebrating because they're $25 million richer, and they're going to be on a
And they're very weird square on the ground bed. That was
silver bed. Yeah.
It was like a futon with like a weird frame. It was really college. It was very weird.
I feel like he had a Japanese fetish, 100%. I mean, he was heading to Japan. So I think that's the aesthetic he was going for in his weird,
like the villain in The Crow. Like he had, like he's the type of guy that has so many katanas. I can't tell you anything about him, but he has a lot.
One of the London hacker, you know how like they showed all the hackers from across the world, was David A. Stewart from the Eurythmics, and I was thinking to myself, is this person supposed to be somebody? Because they're taking a long time and they gave him the shitty line and it was weird. And I'm like, he has to be somebody, right?
Yeah.
I'm glad that took that out of my mind because it really bothered me.
I didn't notice, so I'm glad you mentioned something. That's cool. The Eurythmics is very fitting.
Yeah.
He's literally like sitting by Tower Bridge, like sipping tea, and he's like, it's go time, hack the world. Like, it's very British, but like no enthusiasm, just like, I do this every day. It's a lovely day out. So
they get to the police station. I mean, where I was going to say Social Security. I mean, the
Secret Service.
Might as well be the Social Security office.
It's the Social Security Administration. They're making sure that hackers aren't stealing your identity. Actually, it makes more sense to the Secret Service.
100%. And Dade is trying to take the rap. He's like, Kate had nothing to do with it. It was all me. And she's like, what are you doing? And he's like,
she's a girl. She's just my girlfriend. She doesn't know anything about computers. She's like, you know what? Fuck you. I'm not even going along with that. Even though we'll get in trouble.
I'm going to jail on principle now.
And then she like backs down and just like, thanks for your help. I was like, I don't like this. That didn't sit well for me.
But then we get the shot in Times Square where all the displays, LCD displays, flicker, and it's serial killer's beautiful face as he spills all the tea, and he
radiating himbo energy to the world. It is so good.
And he gives names, he gives account numbers, he is putting Margot and Eugene on read. And so Margot doesn't know what to do. She just flails about and then ends up being taken to jail by the Secret Service.
She's a woman. She was hysterical. They caught her immediately.
Exactly.
You know?
But Eugene had the wherewithal. He had a disguise. It felt like Val Kilmer in The Saint. That was the level disguise he was wearing.
Very true. Good reference.
Very good reference. I haven't thought of that in a long time.
But that movie is much better, and Val Kilmer is much better.
Yeah, facts.
So he is on a plane to Japan. He's getting away. He has succeeded after all, and now he doesn't have to split money with any damn woman. But Secret Service is just on the plane that's already in flight. Like, you couldn't.
Wendell Pierce is immediately behind him. He is immediately there for the taking off his like very Scooby-Doo like costume, and it's which that actually felt very satisfying because Plague bamboozled him. You know?
Yeah.
I like that was a satisfying moment. I felt that one, like, fuck you, Plague, even though he was my favorite character. He was the most fun to watch. Well, it's hard to have a favorite character. Him
There's so many to
Phantom
choose
Freak
from.
and Serial Killer. Definitely not Dade, though. Obviously not.
No. Dade. But they all hug, they're excited. And then next you see Dade and Kate on a date. Mm-hmm. And Kate is in a dress. So
weird. They're doing that. Like, what are they doing? Are they about to do a football play? Like, it's supposed to be teasing, but it's very awkward. It is very surprising they were married. There's like just
they didn't get married till after the movie.
Like, did they like each other on set? Because it's like there's just
I think
not.
So.
It doesn't feel that way in the movie because it's like awkward. Maybe that's because they were like figuring things out. I don't know, but it was very weird on screen. Why she would like him? There's no reason.
Sense. No,
none.
A man wrote the film, so that's why.
That's why.
1000%.
Yeah.
So many reasons why.
Yeah, they were married shortly after the film, and they were divorced 4 years later. But like their relationship, and like from a pop culture standpoint, was always very interesting. Still interesting. They're still friends with each other, even through all of her marriages. They've always been close. They've always kept in contact. So
I think they were just very young.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I think she's described him as literally like the love of her life. She very much loved him a lot. Yeah.
So we see Dade and Kate, they decide to go for a swim, and then they start weirdly making out like underwater.
I hate this ending so much because it's so weird. Mostly because there's no reason she would like him, like automatically, like she just likes him. And I get that it's like we're circling back to the pool prank, but it didn't feel like a real thing then, and it doesn't now. The crash and burn in the city lights is cute because their friends did it, and that's like adorable. But the other parts, no, I don't like it. I think it should have ended with Wendell Pierce and Plague. We do need to see the hackers.
I would have loved the scene of them just rollerblading into the sunset.
Yeah. Or them having like a big party. All the crashers are like crashers. Oh my God. All the hackers. All the hackers are just like having a really big party or something like that.
Yeah.
Like at the end of Labyrinth when everyone's in a room. Like that.
Or like just rollerblading and then they all like jump and it ends on like a freeze frame or something.
Yes. All right, we all have to do our rollerblade freeze frame right now. Okay. You guys ready?
All right.
This is going to be like the cover of our episode.
Oh my God. Okay.
I fell.
Perfect. And that is Hackers.
Yes.
A according to Fisher Stevens, Quentin Tarantino was considered for the role of the Plague.
Interesting.
That would have been even more unhinged than what we got with.
He would have definitely been scarier.
Yes.
More menacing.
More menacing for sure.
Yeah.
Lots of fun one-liners.
The Hacker Manifesto, read by Agent Bob, was actually written by a hacker of great renown in the 1980s named Lord Blankenship. I'm not... who went by the name of The Mentor. It was published in Frack, it's PHRACK magazine, issue number 7, file 3 in 1986. And I remember that, like, isn't he the one they based War Games off of or something?
I think
because there's only one like child hacker that really existed in this, so it has to be. War Games is a great movie.
It is. And what's his face was in that one too, wasn't he? No. What movie was it that we were just talking about him in the same?
Val Kilmer?
Val Kilmer. What movie is he in where he's like a genius computer hacker? There you go. I got it half right. There goes those fractions again. The screenplay is highly inspired by the hacker and cyberpunk subcultures. He saw the film as more than just about computer hacking, but something much larger. In fact, to call hackers a counterculture makes it sound like they're a transitory thing. I think they're the next step in human evolution. And that was from the writer, I think his name Moreau.
And Jonny Lee Miller even attended a hackers convention to prepare for his role as...
I'd like to see that.
Yes.
I don't...
Edward Norton also auditioned for a role. I think it's great he was not in this. I don't think he would have fit. He's a great actor, but I don't see that. All right, so before we get into our ratings, why don't you guys tell everybody your podcast social handles and how they can find you and engage with you guys and listen to your podcast?
You can listen to it on all the podcast platforms. Anywhere that you listen to podcasts, you can find us at Let Us In Podcast. And we have our YouTube channel, which is Let Us In Podcast. We have our Twitter, Let Us In Podcast. It's Let Us In Podcast everywhere. We also have our Instagram, we have a TikTok, and we also have a Patreon. So you can support us there as well.
And if you guys have questions or you want to tell us that our hot takes were too hot for you, hit us up at No More Late Fees on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, Twitter, and YouTube. And let's get into the ratings. We will start with you, Crystle. What is your today rating of Hackers?
I'm gonna still buy this movie. This is a top tier movie for me. I would definitely buy it.
What about you, Emma?
Oh, I definitely buy it again. I mean, I probably should. I don't own it. So yeah, I definitely would buy this movie again. I remember when my Y2K younger self thought I wasn't very bright then either. You know, as a preteen, I'm like, wow, being a teenager is going to be so cool. There's some movies that you watch and you're like, oh my God, being a teenager is going to be awesome. It's funny. I focused in a lot when I was younger, very focused on Angelina Jolie as like, besides the fact that she's beautiful and cool, you know, she's the lead female character. I remember being drawn to her character, but now as an adult, I'm all about Plague. He's the most interesting character for me besides Phantom Freak and Matthew Lillard, a serial killer. Like those three make the movie for me.
This is hard for me. I think it's going to stay a 5-day rental for me. I don't know. I don't own it. I don't see myself buying it, but I feel like every few years I'm going to pop it on because it's such a time capsule and it'll be fun to like the costumes alone.
Yes.
Yeah.
More fun. So yeah.
Costumes are top tier, just like like bananas, but in a way where they really thought like, what are hackers going to be wearing in the future? Like,
yeah.
It was very,
and it's also very very European too. Like that's what Renoly said to us when we interviewed him. But it does give me very Fifth Element vibes with some of the clothes.
Absolutely.
What about you, Jackie?
It's definitely a would buy. I loved rewatching it. It brought back all the memories, made me just feel warm and happy inside.
Love it.
And if you would like to share your opinion about the marvelous movie Hackers, or what your hacker name would be, hit us up at our quick drop 909-601 and MLF 909-601-6653. You can twat us at the Twitters or leave a message on our Anchor FM account, and you could be featured on a future episode. And as always, be kind and rewind.